Kubernetes 1.25 recently announced a new feature. Container Registry service moved from k8s.gcr.io to registry.k8s.io. So let's try to understand that. So if you go to the Kubernetes announce, which is a Google group, right, on 24th of August, this particular 1.25 went live, which is 24th of August, 7 days ago, and which is released by using Golang Kubernetes 1.25, and these are the downloads, etc, etc. And if you look at the major changes, major themes, moved container registry service from, this is the what the today's topic we are going to see. And if you don't have access to this particular Google group, and there is official GitHub page where 1.25 and it's all the changelog, downloads, etc available here, right? And the today's topic is this one, right, under the major moved container registry. So let's try to understand. So before that, we will try to see what is there in the 1.24, and then we'll see 1.25. So I have a minikube cluster, right, and say kubectl get node, right, and which is a minikube running on 1.24.3, which is older version, right. Say kubectl get pod, right, these are the my pods, these are control plane, no, so nothing is running at the moment. So kubectl get pod -a-o void. So there is a command basically where you can output the name of the image, right, image. So when I run this on 1.24.3, right, and all the control plane specific images are pointing to k8s.gcr.io/core DNS, kube API server, kube controller, kube proxy, kube scheduler, and storage provisioner, which is gcr.io. So these are the images, are control plane specific images are pointing to this, which is the old version. So if I go to the slide, this is the old version, and the new version. So I will go to the, I have another cluster which is, let me copy my kube config quickly, right, then, right, so which is it's pointing to this, right. Now kubectl get node -o void, right. So this is a 1.25, which is a new version, right, and kubectl get pod, and if I run the same command here in the 1.25, my all control plane specific images are pointing to registry.k8s.io. So again the same core DNS, etcd, kube API server, kube controller, kube proxy, kube schedule, etc, and nothing is running at the moment apart from the control plane. So if we look at closely, look, only the difference is this is the only the registry underlying the base registry is changed. So we just saw that 1.24 version, so underlying the image specific registry domain is this one, k8s.gcr.io, and in the new version 1.25 we just saw that control plane specific all the images are pointing to this particular registry, right. And so what is container registry service? In CKA, what we learned is, in order to provision a new Kubeadm cluster, so we have used kubeadm.init and advertising address, and as well as the pod network cider range you have to pass. And if you go to the Kubernetes documentation, this is the kubeadm.init, and version you select 1.24, which is older version, right. And here -- image, there is a image repository, default is k8s.gcr.io, and is clearly mentioned that choose container registry to pull control plane images. So means container registry service is nothing but a registry of control plane images where it reside, as simple as that. So but whereas whenever you run this particular command, internally it will use image repository whatever by default it's set for that particular version. If I change to 1.25, right, and same -- image search, right, so image repository default is registry.k8s.io, again the same message, right. So here the image repository is the key here, whatever the value which is set by the Kubernetes team, right. But that's what the, so it is nothing but default repo. Default repo was this one in 1.24. 1.25 is a new repo, right. And this belongs to all control plane images which is provisioned by using Kubeadm only. But what if you have your own registry? How can you do that? Yes, there is a way, and ---- image repository, and you need to pass this config.yaml. So again, what is this config.yaml? So let's try to understand that. So if you go inside the Kubernetes, say I'll go into the master node, say Vagrant SSH master. I'll go inside my master node, right? I am in a master node, so I will log in as a root user, right? So now clear, perfect. So now back to slide, right? So there is a command Kubeadm config.image list. So basically this particular gives Kubeadm config images list. So and this images is a plural. So this is what the Kubeadm has a configuration of all the control plane images. Whatever the control plane images to be pulled during the Kubeadm init. So this particular this is the images. And another command is we need to see the configuration exactly. That also is possible by using Kubeadm config print init default. So here Kubeadm config, right, and print init default. So there are two commands here, init defaults and as well as a join default. In the CKA, what we learned is in order to provision a new Kubeadm cluster, Kubeadm init command will be used, and in order to join any of the worker node, then Kubeadm join command will be used. But we are most interested in the Kubeadm init. So what is the configuration of init default? So defaults, right? So when I run this Kubeadm config print init defaults, so there is a configuration which is resulted here. This is my configuration. So if you closely observe, API version is this, groups, usage, signing, kind init configuration, right, and node registration by using a containerd, yes, and right. So their image repository. So this is the image repository. But if you wanted to provision a new Kubernetes cluster by using your own image repositories, so you have to create the configuration and then pass it during the Kubeadm init, so that instead of pulling from the Kubernetes given the repo, it will perform whatever you specified here, right? That's what it means. So now k8s.gcr.io, this is the old registry, is also called as the k8s artifacts prod. So this is basically the registry which is hosted in GCP, Google Cloud, also called as a Google Cloud Container Registry, same like a ECR, Elastic Container Registry, Azure Container Registry, same likewise. Google also has this Container Registry where they used to maintain all the official Kubernetes control plane images. And this particular registry was managed by SIG K8s Infra. This is the separate team, a community. They used to maintain all these images and pushing, etc. And why they are maintaining is it's an official Kubernetes registry until 1.24, even now as well, where it has a secure place and only authorized member will push, and also they will properly test before pushing to this particular registry, whatever the new version they release. And if you wanted to see this particular registry, this is a link and I have already opened here. Yeah, this is the K8s artifacts prod, and these are all the folders. And if you look at here, us.gcr, Asia, EU, so individual country region specific domain routing will happen, right? So and if you go deeper, you will be able to find all the images, right? So in order to push to this particular registry, they are used image promoter process. So image promoter is basically it's a process where the particular registry is images will be published by only community member, not by anyone else. It's not. So basically, if you are a community member, you need to follow the image promoter process, then only you will be able to achieve to push to that particular image, particular registry. And what the community member they used to do is they will scan and test the images before pushing into the image promoter. So it's a process they have introduced. So basically, if you are a community member, right, if you are a maintainer, so you will first push the image to container registry. First of all, you will build locally and push it, and they will scan and test, and then you will create a PR, and that PR will be the cloud build internally. Google Cloud Platform, they will pick it up and push it to the actual registry. So here the point is two environments, staging and production. So basically, if you are a developer, you are working for Kubernetes control plane images, so first of all you need to fork the repo, of course, definitely, and you need to push to the staging area and raise the PR if it is all good, and then it will be pushed to production. The two environment they maintain now. So this registry.kih.io they changed, right? So why? So please note, this particular information is purely based on the information is available from the GitHub, which is provided in the Kubernetes official documentation. So as per the their information, the old registry kih.gcr.io is located in Google Cloud Platform, which is GCP, Google Cloud or whatever. And this particular kih.gcr.io is being used by many Kubernetes clusters, which is from multiple clouds, AWS, Azure, Alibaba and OCI, and there is a big list is there in the Kubernetes official documentation. So, and if it is located in the one cloud, and whereas multiple clouds, multiple vendors, multiple platforms are using this particular images, so, and whoever is maintaining this particular registry, the old one, right, and it is very expensive for them, because operational costs are expensive. Why the operational cost is, if you look at the Google Cloud container registry pricing, right, and you need to pay for the storage and network egress, right, the outgoing from the registry. So these are the operational costs so far is managed by the K8s team, right? And now what is their idea is to maintain a new registry which is host the control plane images wherever it's nearer, because most of the AWS is across the globe, Azure is across the globe, Alibaba is in China and other rest of the countries, Oracle Cloud and many other clouds, right? So if it is most of the percentage AWS is using, or Azure or any other GCP using, there will be a cross cloud class because of the network storage, etc., etc. And this purely from this particular link is available. So let me show that link here. Yeah, this is the what the all the theory is available. I will put it in the description. So yeah, that's the overall idea. They wanted to come up with a new registry. And new registry, how it is the difference from the old registry is, in the new registry they set up a new proxy called OCI Proxy. This is OCI Proxy. So this OCI Proxy is in front of the registry. So means, of course, proxy means anything you hit, first proxy will take the request and pass it to actual, right? That's what the actual proxy concept, right? So main idea is based on the traffic, say India or Singapore or US, wherever the traffic is coming, based on the traffic, redirect the Kubeadm init request to nearest image repositories, so that they can reduce the cost of being pulled from the centralized repository. And how is basically, say some of the countries like Indonesia or some other regions where the AWS or any other cloud is not available, they will pull from the nearest image repositories. Means the overall concept is they are going to set up a new registry in across the multiple places, multiple regions, and if that region is anywhere is not available like Indonesia, they will pull from the nearest like a Singapore or any other. So, and it is basically this particular registry.kih.io is multi-vendor. So far is the Google Cloud only, but now it's a multi-vendor, and based on the ASN, it will redirect. Basically IP they will identify from which IP this Kubeadm init is coming, and based on that they will redirect to the nearest registry. And if they don't know the location of the where the incoming call, they will simply route it to the old one, which is kih.gcr.io. This information purely available from this particular URL. Now the new concept is basically uses this particular OCI proxy. So how it works is, this is sits in front of the registry, actual registry, and images, basically the whatever the new version of the images, right, they will primarily they will put it into the existing GCR registry, but it's a mirrors of the content blobs, only the blobs, not the manifest. Blobs will be stored in a S3 bucket of AWS. So it means they have set up a new AWS account, and in the S3 buckets they are maintaining this blobs, copying, and the old one and as well as the new one. And if AWS clients, any of the client is requesting, basically the request will be routed to the nearest AWS S3 bucket rather than going to the GCR, so that within the AWS there will be a less price. But only the thing is, only for the content blobs only they will go to the S3 and pull, not for the manifest. So manifest information they need not to go to the S3 bucket. So that's how the intelligent algorithm is mentioned in OCI, and this particular OCI specific documentation is here, OCI proxy, right. These are the details and current design, etc. It's available here, right. And in case of any other request other than the blobs, etc., so it will be redirected to the upstream registry. And this OCI proxy will have an intelligent routing mechanism, like for which request the underlying end user is requesting. So based on that they will route it to the whether K8 SGCR or nearest S3, etc., so that they will try to route to the nearest, and the network cost will be very less and latency is high. And yeah, in the registry point of view, this is the plan from this particular documentation is, so basically currently large percent of the traffic is being pulled from AWS account. So they set up a AWS account as well as a S3 and as well as IAM permission, and they wanted to basically route the large percent of the traffic to this particular here, so that its individual workloads will be available from here, or maybe AWS has a very good regional coverage, hence the reason, right. And basically their main idea is to identify the incoming traffic. Say I am doing Kubeadm init and my request is coming from Singapore, so they will route it to the nearest S3 bucket where it's hosted. From there the blob will be pulled, and if the region is different, then definitely the nearest region, something like in India somewhere it's not available, it will go from the Mumbai or any other nearest Chennai or somewhere, right. And what is the old images are in the GCR, right, so that will be also copied to S3, so that in case of somebody is using any older version 1.24 1.23 etc., right. Still AWS EKS is using 1.23, right. So that for them they will use this S3 with this, right. And internally basically it will use this image promoter for new registry also, because they have set up all the CI/CD pipelines and all. So and in order to test they will use a registry-sandbox.kis.io. so this is the production one, this is their staging, and this information is available here, right. And let's go to the documentation here, right. So this is all the details are here, and OCI proxy is here now. Yeah, and some final words. So basically they wanted to increase the AWS region with S3 by containing their copies, etc., so that it will be highly available, and Kubernetes Kubeadm commands will be much faster. And also they wanted to monitor the both AWS and GCP cost and how it's performing, and since just 1.25 is released 1 week back, and we don't know what is their plan, just to understand the what they are doing with this. So they said that they're going to monitor, and also they set up a CI jobs to improve the stability, right, from the sandbox to actual production is this. And also the main objective is to they want to avoid the large binaries are serving from the Google Cloud Registry. Why means Google will basically charge from the whoever is the maintaining, right, storage and egress, right. It's unless we join into the Kubernetes community, we'll be able to understand. But not the least, under the Kubernetes enhancements, image promotion and distribution policy for the same registry KATS request handling. If you scroll down here, how much this is going to save us. So here they clearly mentioned that from April 2021 this is a GB, and monthly and October is this a GB. So 1 2 3 4, these are the 4 different providers. So we don't know who is the provider, me, AWS, GCP, there are many providers, among that they given. And here clearly saying that 94%, more than a 94% of the data it consumed by 4 largest consumers, and rest of the 7%, less than 7, by the other consumers. But we don't know who is the consumers. And also if they host locally the images, then 40 to 50% of the cost will be saved under general network usage cost. This particular session is just to understand what is the change and why they made, to understand that, right. And it's purely from the documentation, and let me know what you guys think. And thank you for listening, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like, comment, share. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.